next episode of the Accelerator podcast. I'm Mark Clegg, Director of Entrepreneurship and Career Services at the University of Michigan School of Music, Theater and Dance. And I'm here with the duo, or acoustic rock band, KOZM. Did I pronounce it right?
Yep.
Exactly. So Javier Orman and Tom Farrell. And Javier is a graduate of the University of Michigan. When did you graduated in sort of classical violin, right?
Yeah, I did my master's here 07 to 09.
And Tom, you are a classical guitarist.
Yes.
So how do you guys use your classical training in what we might describe as some kind of, you're trying to reach a kind of crossover popular audience now, I would say. You know, a lot of dance influence, rock influence in your music. Maybe it doesn't really fit into the categories that the world uses to label music, but how does your classical training come to the fore in what you do now?
Well, when we're writing music, we're not really thinking of one genre or another. The music should just comes organically, and but I'm sure it informs almost every decision that we make. You know, we both trained for so many years as classical musicians, and our technique is built on that for sure.
I think it gives us the discipline to keep working and refining what we do. You know, I think it's easy to step away from it and think it's well rehearsed, but you know, I think it's just that discipline we learned in school kind of helps us keep kind of grinding at it until you think it's ready.
So playing rock music still takes rehearsal and practice and composition and hard work and all those things we value in classical music. Are there things in your classical training that you sort of had to either mentally or physically sort of get beyond to sort of experiment with other styles, or the things you had to unlearn?
Well, improvisation is an important part of like how we go about writing, and I think that's something that wasn't a part of my classical training, and probably not a part of many people's classical training, but I think that alone, you know, kind of opens itself up to composition.
Yeah, and as a violinist, when you're playing the classical repertoire, which is very standardized, and even the way of playing it is very standardized, your vocabulary is somewhat limited to that. So by playing other styles of music and trying to not ignore, but try to learn new things and relax a little bit about what's the right way of doing things, then you just expand your possibilities. You know, when I play, I incorporate some vocabulary from, you know, rock guitar or trumpet lines or stuff like that. And when Tom plays, he adds to his classical technique some extended techniques like percussion on the guitar and
a lot of, you know, quasi flamenco kind of stuff, you know, with more of a rock driving kind of edge to it.
So one of the things is the kind of perfectionism we aim for in classical studies. You sort of have to at least loosen up a little bit to let yourself try new things, and then refine those. Once you get the idea, you refine those and start with the same kind of devotion to study. Do you think does that describe it?
Yeah, I think this process of us writing music has kind of transformed that too. So I think when you go back and you approach a piece of classical music, you just feel freer. You feel like the possibilities that aren't on that page. There's possibilities that aren't on that page that exist. You know, and that's kind of a liberating feeling. You know, once you've created your own music, I think. At least for me.
So it's in some ways deepened your relationship to the classical music to play other styles of music.
Oh yeah.
And you feel sort of a new artistic voice coming through. And if you go back, say, do Piazzolla, which is one of the things you guys started playing together, right? When you're playing other people's music before you started writing your own. Do you play Piazzolla now, and is that a different relationship now that you're a composer?
We have actually. A couple months ago, we were asked to do a demo of Libertango, and you know, we started off with a more, you know, an arrangement I had of, you know, it was definitely more classical, and by the time we finished it, it was kind of rocking, you know.
Yeah, it's probably closer to the way Piazzolla would have approached it originally, you know.
As an improvising musician himself.
Exactly, and you know, no two concerts would have felt the same, even though like they would have rehearsed and practiced and established some kind of structure. The attitude behind it is always to express in a spontaneous way. And I feel that going back to playing classical music, whenever we do, either, you know, for students or whatever situation it is, we face it differently too. You know, we don't see the notes on the page the way they're written as the end of, how do you say?
Means to an end.
Yeah, they're a means to an end, right? They're just a guide, And I think that's probably how those composers would have felt as well. Playing Bach violin sonatas and partitas, there was no way to record him playing.
And he was an improviser, right?
But the only way to pass it on was to write it down. That doesn't mean that that's the only way to play those pieces. So I think our attitude has evolved towards the classical repertoire that way as well.
Yeah.
So you guys met in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And you sort of did what a lot of students today think about doing, moving to a big city, just try to find opportunities. And I lived in LA briefly. It's a big place, lots of musicians, lots of artists. How did you get established there? Like, what did you do when you got there that sort of allowed you to, be successful as a musician, to be able to continue to push your art forward? I'm talking about sort of just the career survival skills.
Well, I can start with that. First thing I did was explore the context that I already had.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to teach at a music school where the director was a good friend of my teacher here in Michigan, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So there was that contact, and also some U of M alumni who had started a new music group, Wild Up, and who were in the same class as me here, and so I started to play with them.
The Christopher Roundtree.
Yep,
Exactly.
Great group, and so I played with them for actually a couple of years. LA's a big place, so for geographical reasons, I wasn't able to continue playing with them as often. And then some recording contacts that I had as well that allowed me to go into studios. Just a variety of different ways to explore a new city.
So you use your network, connect with people you know, and just
Definitely.
try things out.
And cold calls.
For sure.
Yeah, always.
Great. How about you, Tom?
Yeah, I didn't know a whole lot of people when I came out to LA, and I started just working odd jobs. I was working kind of part time as a writer for a court journal,
Mm-hmm.
and which is a long story. So, but got a job at a local gallery. Got a job teaching, but I had one student for like 3 months, so that wasn't going to cut it. So I had to kind of figure out how to make ends meet while I was there. But I kept with it. Before I had more and more students, had more opportunities to play. Started doing more casual gigs and such. And I got a regular gig at a nice little wine bar in Culver City. And at first I was playing classical guitar, or every other week. And they were paying me, and it was great, and I got to play all my repertoire, and invite friends, and then I kind of started bringing people in, a violinist or a singer, and then I just kept kind of networking through that one little kind of regular local gig, and that was nice because I kind of think it kind of helped me kind of just get out there and play, and then just kind of have a base to make contacts from.
Right. So you both are doing something we teach our students to do now, which is we call it portfolio career, where you just do a lot of different things that all add up to a full-time career. But maybe if you can't get that one job with the LA Philharmonic right off the bat, maybe you sort of stack other opportunities up on themselves. So
Absolutely.
do you see those things for instance, as you're teaching and you're playing, do those things feed each other, or are they totally separate parts of your life?
I think they definitely feed each other. I think that what maybe held me back for a while was the idea that I think I had that they didn't feed together. That teaching was just a way to make money while I was trying to do the thing that I wanted to do. And that's kind of a not a fun existence, because then you never really look at teaching as something positive. Once I was able to shift it around, it became something completely different. I feel like teaching has taught me an enormous amount over the years, and like I like to say, I learn vicariously through my students. So, even from a very basic beginner level to the more advanced students, I find something for them to learn. Because if I'm not inspired by teaching them, it's only me instructing them information, and whether they learn that or not is kind of up to them. But I'd rather draw them in and inspire them and have them be on the same page as me. As that, they learn more, I learn more, I have more fun, they have more fun, and that actually becomes a vital part of what we do. And I think the way we work together is that we're always willing to learn, and criticize and take criticism, and I think that's a part of it too, is being able to accept criticism, even as a teacher, if someone criticizes the way it's all good, it's just, it's all learning, and it's never like this set amount of knowledge that you pass on to your students. It's forever growing, and you're just you're filling up that glass, and that glass is just, bottomless.
And even in a very practical sense, when you're teaching something, you're really thinking about it.
Yeah.
So if you're teaching whether it's the technique on the guitar or improvisation or composition, that makes you a better musician as well.
Absolutely.
And these other parts of the portfolio, I mean, I've learned so much from doing recording sessions. Like we talk about this all the time. We've done so many years of schooling as classical musicians to the point that you think, okay, we're pretty solid, tempo-wise and, following a cue or whatever. But once you are, once it's the real deal, like there's another level of musicianship and technique and improvisation and reaction that you have to have.
And experience, because anybody who hasn't gone into a room, a soundproof room with headphones and click and a background track and someone saying go, and it's like, and you need maybe like 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times to get it right. It's just through experience you learn how to nail it on the first or second try, which it's hard to recreate that even on your own.
One of the first sessions that I had was for a Billy Ray Cyrus track, which it was totally random, right? But the producer that I worked with was incredible, and that's something that maybe I didn't realize before moving to LA. Even behind the very seemingly cookie cutter commercial music, there's really talented people making that music, and working with some of those producers, some of those engineers has made me a much better musician. And I just feel that all those things come together. They all inform each other.
So the other thing I'm wondering about is, like, what kind of sort of emotional or psychological strengths does it take to be a musician these days? I mean, I imagine you graduated about 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
And this is sort of the second iteration of your band, and you've just done your second album.
Yeah.
So you're still hustling. You're still out there trying to make stuff happen. You're on tour now. You're booking your own stuff. You're getting some shows. You're getting some university work. But it's about being an entrepreneur, being out there, sort of making things happen. And I imagine that sometimes you get rejections. You try to how do you deal with that? When you've gone through school, of course, you're in school because you're the winner, right? You've always won the audition, and you've been the exception, right? You've always been the one who's gotten in, and the other people are not in. And then you get out of school, and suddenly you're swimming in the ocean with a lot of other people, and the opportunities are not maybe so clear, or how you get it, and maybe the first time you do something, you move to LA and it doesn't click for you. Right? It takes a couple years. How do you just keep at it?
Yeah, I don't think it's easy for anyone, but it's important to remember that that's normal. Like, it's normal to get rejections. It's normal for people not to answer your emails. That's people don't have time to give you as much feedback as you would have gotten in school, and you have to have the thick skin to be able to look at that and say, okay, this is not about me. They just didn't see a situation for them where my music at this moment fit whatever they're doing, and then try to turn it around into a learning experience. I mean, probably any time that we've gotten a rejection, we've looked at it and we try to learn something from it.
Yeah, and I think if you can get to a point where you actually see the rejections as some sort of success, like think about if you just collect as many rejections as you possibly can, like
at least you're in the game.
You're in the game, and it's like anything, it's a numbers game, and it's also important to believe and to feel really strongly about what you do, and I think that's important, finding your voice, when you get out of school or when you get in that real world, to really commit to what you're doing, and not waver. If you move to LA, don't give up after 2 years or 3 years. I mean, many people tell me it takes 10, to get where they want to go, and knowing that 10-year idea kind of gives you a little patience with it. It says, all right, well, there's people who've rejected us this year. In fact, there's venues that have rejected us several years in a row, and this year we played there. So it's that's the game. And I think if if you know that going in, which I don't think either of us really did when we were in school, I think you can sort of have the foresight to kind of build up the strength and approach it head on, as opposed to letting those rejections really really kind of diminish you. If it empowers you, it just gives you more perseverance to move on and fight.
And to remind yourself that it's not personal.
Yeah, it's
like
not,
if there's a rejection, it's not personal. Like the world is not really the world doesn't owe you something and then takes it away. Like, you just have to look at what you do and make it the best that it can be.
Absolutely.
And then if you want it enough, you will keep trying.
Right.
That's great. So how do students today, or people watching our video casts, how do they connect with KOZM?
Well, they can go to our website, which is KOZM Music, KOZMmusic.com. And you can look us up on
Facebook, KOZM Music,
Instagram,
KOZM Music,
Tumblr,
KOZM Music,
Twitter.
KOZM Sound.
KOZM Music was already taken?
Yeah, fair enough.
And do you find you just have to sort of be everywhere on social media? Or is there one place that really works for you?
Probably Facebook is the main one for us, but we use Instagram quite a bit. We're building a fan base through Instagram, mainly, the younger people that we play for. We play for a lot of high schools and college students, and they tend to use Instagram. We do use Twitter quite a bit as well. Tumblr, I really like Tumblr, so I want to use it. I'm not disciplined enough to sit down and use it the way I should, but it's a great medium. I feel it's the most artistically open-ended of all of those. Yeah.
So you tap into some of the same creativity you do on the stage when you're doing social media as well?
Yeah, just it's open for different types of expression. I mean, you can put poetry, you can put...
Yeah, and sometimes when we're not touring, we'll get a little ridiculous and put some, because like part of this too, in working in a group, is having a sense of humor, and I think because both of us are pretty stubborn, but both of us have senses of humor that I think really kind of just make it fun sometimes, to I don't know, laugh at yourselves a little bit, and I think that's really important. If you take yourselves too seriously, it could have the reverse effect, I mean, to be serious.
We have a lot of fun, and sometimes we try to let people into that. It's not always successful. One time we posted that we were in a recording session just waiting. There's a lot of waiting, and we came up with the idea of what if we had a Christian dubstep band.
It's called Dead Sea Skrillex.
Dead Sea Skrillex. Dead Sea Skrillex. And we even came up with a set list for it.
But people didn't,
I don't think people got it. We even got an email that said, "Are you guys really becoming a Christian?"
One thing I was, messing with graphic design, there was an image I put out there, I don't know, probably 6 months ago, that was pretty popular on our page, which was a Star Trek thing that had I think it was you as Captain Kirk and me as Spock, and we just and our faces, and I forgot what the quote was, but it was like it was something. It was a great Star Trek.
It was a good way to keep people
engaged, engaged while we weren't, we didn't have putting a lot of stuff out there, but it's like, if you just go silent for a big amount of time, it's like you could risk kind of maybe not losing people. People move on to things so quickly, and that's another thing about social media is you have to continuously kind of keep up on it. Otherwise, you sort of loses its value, and that goes for YouTube too. Like trying to do new videos, do new photos, and get the information out there, and also keep it personal too. At the same time, you can't make it all about the business. There's people want to connect with you on stage. It's important to tell stories and talk about yourself a little bit. I think on social media the same. It is social media, not necessarily just promotion.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you're trying to create a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Act like a good friend.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, this has been great talking to you. Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, my pleasure.